Do people ever come to you for relationship advice as a veteran in the
Sometimes, yeah, friends. Sometimes, yeah, I love hearing about other people's relationships too, just because I think relationships are so fascinating. The other thing that I learned a lot about relationships in general from, and I would recommend to anyone, is you can watch this UCLA class on intimate relationships on YouTube. These two professors team teaching a lecture is like so full of interesting information
Okay.
about intimate relationships. And there's like 11 classes or maybe more, maybe 12 classes or something, maybe 15 on
Mm,
YouTube. If you look up, yeah, UCLA intimate relationships, I forget their names, but they also, I liked it so much after watching that I ordered the textbook, which they wrote.
mhm.
And it's fascinating. It's fascinating because you learn all about like, you know, what marriages work and what doesn't work in a relationship and some of the things. I just feel like having as much knowledge as you can about that stuff is only going to help your relationship, so oh yeah, I'm falling into that category where this is happening, how can
Mm,
I turn that around.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have to get in a relationship that lasts long enough to be able to apply anything. I'm
What's your longest relationship?
3.5 years, and it was 3.5 years was my longest
See,
relationship.
is your breaking point?
Do I? Well, I've heard that 3.5 years is a when people start questioning. All right, so what are we doing?
It is.
And yeah, but I tend to hover around a year,
Mm-hmm.
and then things kind of start going south. But um, I think I still have what was that noise? I still one of my ex-girlfriends is out there. Um,
With a knife.
exactly. Uh, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think yeah, after a year, like right around the year, I don't even know if I'm meant to be in a relationship. This is I think I
Do
have
you want
this
to be in a relationship? I mean, it's more about
well,
that.
I I would say that I would say that I want to be in a relationship, but I think that I don't pick the I don't know. I actually don't know maybe I'm not ready or whatever to be in a relationship because I know I hear like um that I have I'm a non-affectionate person
Oh,
and but I have another theory. I have a little bit of a theory about this. I think that maybe I'm uh choosing people that I know right from the beginning it doesn't have a future. Like,
yeah,
um,
because of your like, what do you when you say you're non-affectionate? Do you mean you're not a real like cuddly type person, and that bothers people? Because that bothers Mark about me. I'm
mm,
not a real cuddly person. I
mm,
just never have been.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think, well, my mom and I had this conversation about this, um, and I think I spoke to someone else about this as well, but like, my my example of a relationship is more about being a provider protector type, and so this is the role that I'm like I usually assume or whatever, and I'm never like um I never seem to be the one to be a comforter. I'm more of like a motivator type. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but like I kind of feel like people would prefer that women would prefer that I hug them more than give them advice on how to solve a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
Even though literally more helpful in many instances, and that's why you're doing it. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you just need to find the right person, because I personally would way rather have the advice than I mean, the hugging's good, but
Yeah.
yeah, no. So, yeah, maybe you are, picking people who need more physical demonstrativeness.
Yeah.
Um, whereas to me, like, conversation is more important in a relationship. So
hmm
I think, but so it's interesting that you're picking people that want that, or maybe they're picking you.
mm
Have you heard of attachment theory?
Attachment theory. We're like,
Yeah. Do you know what that is?
I've heard
So
of it.
attachment, okay. You should look it up, because like basically, because of like our childhood, and I'm talking young childhood,
Mm-hmm.
like, baby time,
Mm-hmm.
we all develop a certain type of attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
The way you're talking makes me think you might have an attachment style a little bit similar to me, which is a little bit aloof, actually. It goes into that, where for, whatever reasons, and it's not necessarily like you had bad parents or anything like that. It's just the way your parents raised you. Like, for instance, and I think we're similar in age. And back when we were babies, there was this belief that if a baby cries, you don't go to it every time to comfort it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and my mom told me she didn't. And I thought that sounded smart to me. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. If you don't, it's like training a dog. Don't go to the baby every time it cries. Learned as much, and I do pride myself on not being a crybaby. But actually, unfortunately, what they found out years later, even though they were telling people that then, is that actually a baby that young, you should pick it up and comfort it when it cries, because the baby's too young to like train in that way, and it needs comforting. So, but they didn't know that then. And so, like, as a for instance, a lot of babies who had that kind of parenting, even though my mom was doing what the books told her, she wasn't like being a bad mom, and as well as many of these other moms. But babies who are raised that way, like, you learn not to depend on others for, you don't want to depend on others for stuff. Like, I know I don't like to depend on anyone in my life for anything necessarily. I don't know if you relate to that feeling.
Well, actually, it's really interesting because I kind of feel like well, I don't know if my mom was really used this technique, but the affection that my mom showed me as a kid, she was very affectionate to me and very protective of me and very like attentive as I remember it. And I think because as I start trying to piece it together, also at the same time, my first like girlfriend was a very like aggressive, um like she would never know that I wasn't affectionate because she was just so on me all the time that there was no me giving it back. So
Right.
so I think more for me that I'm just used to receiving so much that I just absorb it and I don't give it back in the same way. So it maybe it kind of
That makes
has
sense.
the same it has like the maybe a similar result but coming from a different side of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
that totally makes sense. So, like, when you are attracted to women, do you feel like are you finding yourself attracted to these women who are very physically demonstrative because that's what you got when you were young, and then and that's what you're attracted to, and then but then they feel eventually like they're doing all of that and you're not giving back?
Yeah,
Maybe
that
what you need to find is someone more like you.
mm,
You need to, find maybe someone who's not naturally that demonstrative, so that you have the opportunity to be the one to be that way too, you know?
interesting. Interesting. Um if I'm actually capable of being that, like at least at this point, because I mean I know when I try to do it, it's I'm almost like forcing myself to do it.
Right. It
Like
doesn't
so,
come natural.
yeah, like I'm just like, okay, when I go into the room, I'm gonna go and hug her. Like it's not because I necessarily actually feel like doing it. I just do it because I know it's the right thing to do.
Yep. I get it.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, I've actually thought about maybe seeking some therapy or counseling for this kind of thing because
You should.
it's definitely like a not a way that I want to be. You know what I mean? Like unless I'm with someone that can appreciate this way of being. You know what I mean? So um, yeah, I got to look into this.